Hello friends, how are you today? Well, I'm at the salt marsh and as you can see, it's very cloudy and foggy. Let me show you if I switch the focus. See? All those, look how cool that looks. Wow, look at that. Look at those clouds. That is pretty cool, huh? It was super foggy here this morning, which is a nice thing about living here. I like having the fog sometimes. There might be some shouting in the background because someone brought their bird dog to the salt marsh and then let it off leash, and it's not under voice control. So it's untrained. So it's kind of exciting out there right now for the birds. Yeah. Well, what I wanted to explain to you and show you is the energy I talked about in my last video, and we're going to just do, I'm going to do a teaching moment about the information about the star Algol and the meaning of its importance over the next 2.5 years. And I have not heard this explanation and interpretation before until I started writing about it, about mid-July. So I hope that this is informative for you, and I think it's a key theme over the next 2.5 years, and that's why it's really important to explain how the energies work, because what we're being presented with, in my view, over the next 2.5 years is a choice. And what I said in the video about the Mars-Uranus Algol conjunction of July 20, 2024, which initiated a new Mars cycle for 2.5 years, is that it's in a new moon phase, right? The whole cycle is in a new moon phase, and I explain the details of that in the astrology aspects of that on the video about Mars-Uranus Algol. But what I want to show you now is the choice we have and what's being offered to you. And me, I just have to laugh because of this bird dog situation. I think it's funny. I'd rather laugh than complain or be negative about it. I mean, what do you expect if you don't train your dog and you bring it to a salt marsh and let it off leash? Okay, so here we go. This is the star Algol, and I'm going to explain how that is. Okay, this is the star Algol. What am I talking about? Algol is a triple star. It has 3 stars, and the 3 stars, 2 of them relate in a similar way, and the other one relates in a very different way energetically, and it underlies the choice that we have here. 2 of the stars orbit each other, and they rotate around each other, and as one passes the other, it takes energy from the star it's passing. Okay, so it's in constant rotation, taking energy, right? And there's more details than that, but we'll just leave it at that. This star here is a distance from the other 2, and it's completely off on its own. This is not drawn to scale, believe it or not. So this star here is really like way over here if we did it more to scale. So what am I saying? I'm saying that this star is independent, is quite a bit further away. In our night sky, they don't seem that far away, right? Because of the distance at which we're looking at the stars. But so we've got these 2 just kind of in this codependent relationship, and this off on its own, independent, energetically sovereign, you might say. Okay, so now, do we have a clearer understanding of what the choices might be that we're being offered on a personal level with codependent relationship? And then on this side, we have sovereign independence. Does that mean you can't be in a relationship? No. It means that I'm energetically sovereign and I want to be in a friendship or a relationship of some kind, or it could be a love relationship, right? Where you have partnership and then marriage potentially. But in that relationship, each person approaches from their sovereignty, right? From their individual sovereignty, and love and respect. And you base it always in the deep love that you have for each other. Now, my friends and I have been practicing relationships like this for years, okay? So it's not always easy because we have a lot of history of not being like that in relationship, not being sovereign, of being more codependent in some way. And because in an unhealed state, we devolve into projection. And this relationship can be all about projection. It might not be codependence. It might just be that you meet someone, okay? And it could be random, it could be someone in family, it could be friends or acquaintances, but they can't see you for the truth of who you are. They can only see you from their projections onto you, okay? And when you're in that kind of relationship, it's also like this relationship of energy exchange that feels very tied together, in a way unbalanced. In my live stream, which I will link below, but it is for members, and I encourage you and ask you, if you like my content, I would love it if you became a member, because that would just be great. It's very reasonable, $2.99, and I think that it's a nice thing to do if you actually really like my content. So, a little advertisement there. But these are our choices. So, here's something very interesting about the history of this star. This star here, that's independent and sovereign energetically, can you guess the name back to Babylonian times of this star? Or ancient times, okay. Babylonian times, it was actually a different name, but it's the same character. The name of this star is Lilith. Now let me tell you something. In making my videos, those who assert the narrative have only raised their head up with me visibly on this channel in 2 topic areas. Those topic areas are 9/11 and my videos about Lilith. Isn't that interesting? Right? And I said that at 9/11 here on the recording. I don't know what it will be after I edit it, but so what does that mean? Well, we talked about this type of relationship based upon personal relationships, but we have this type of relationship with the unseen forces that seem to be able to globally influence the world, don't we? That we now appear to be governed by, that appear to have co-opted in the USA, our government by the people for the people. We're in not this kind of relationship, which is described by our founding documents, the energetically sovereign, but coming together as equals to be in a nation and govern ourselves. But we seem to be in this kind of relationship, don't we? And the star that keeps passing us, or the powers that have control, keep taking our energy, keep taking our energy, keep taking your energy in the form of various means. Now, can you see why this concept of Lilith is so important to the narrative, and why it is so important that the narrative, for the narrative, that the concept of Lilith is demonized? Because it is very hard to find writing about her that explains the benefits and positive nature and up-leveling of Lilith energy. The fact of the matter is that this is one of the dark goddesses that women in particular have a deep connection with, okay? She's in all of our astrology charts. And in my view, she represents where we are deeply wounded on the feminine side. Heal these traumas that you have that keep you from being sovereign and independent, right? As a living being, and able to come into relationship with others without the projection, right? Without codependence, without the narcissism empath thing, standing on your own in love and honoring of the person that you're relating with. The bird dog is still just running around the field. What a free spirit. Maybe this is just perfect. It's just perfect for this, right? The bird dog is, you know what, it has such a great energy. It is so happy running around this marsh on its own without its leash. And it's just wildly running all over, and you can just see how happy and free-spirited it is. And then it's a woman, the woman who does not have it under control. The woman is just calling after it, yelling after it. It's not behaving properly. It's not staying by her side. What do you expect, right? You have to properly train an animal, especially a hunting dog, if you expect it to properly behave. So in some cases, right, this is a relationship that we go into willingly, right? I have a German Shepherd dog. Well, I had one until he passed. I had him till he was 14, so it was a great dog. And we had this kind of a relationship in the positive, right? Now that's different. That's with a dog. He was very well trained. He knew what his job was. I knew what my job was. And he was amazing. When we enter it from our sovereignty, from our consciousness, it changes the nature of it. It becomes not abuse. It becomes not unfairness or injustice. It becomes a choice from the awareness, right? From the awareness that we are. If I take an untrained dog out into the field that's wild and wants to be wild and free, it's going to be wild and free, and I'm going to have to deal with it. Okay, now we're in unbalance because I didn't properly, act. I wanted something and I didn't do the work. I didn't do a proper agreement to make that happen, right? With the animal, with the dog in this case. Marriages that work have to be properly balanced, right? One star cannot take too much from the other star. There has to be a loving balance. So there's really a third way to draw this. Okay? And that way is what do relationships look like from the standpoint of the star that's independent. I guess I should draw this. They look like this. See? Here's Lilith, and I'm going to say potentially unhealed, right? I didn't put the heart, the connected heart, in the center of her. She has a positive and negative expression, clearly, okay? But I'm not going to get into that in this video. I want to talk about the elevation of her energy. There's plenty of people who talk about the negatives of her energy. When we choose to elevate, and then other aspects of energy come into this, but the basic truth here is when you become fully soul connected with the divinity that you truly are, and become whole unto yourself, then you can be in relationship with another. And this is I acknowledge who you are, okay? This is, I love and honor and respect who you are. This is not, you have to pick me up at the airport, I insist on it. If you don't pick me up at the airport, you don't love me. Okay? That's this. Now, this is Oh, I'm flying in. Oh, would you like me to pick you up at the airport? I happen to be free that day, like I could pick you up at that time. Oh, that'd be wonderful. Thank you. Let's do another one. This is what you just said offended me because you meant X. This is listening, being present, acknowledging, and not reacting out of projection. If something comes up for me in this conversation, I can say it. If something doesn't come up for me, I just acknowledge. So I might smile, I might say, oh, really? You know, but I don't have to agree. Right? I don't have to agree. I don't have to project. So when I move into this elevated state, it really you know, in my view, it's an embodiment of the transformation, the elevation of this sovereign independent energy. But then it takes it to the next level, right? It takes it to the next level. That's how these archetypes evolve. They have a negative side, a positive side, in an elevated state. And then in that elevated state, you can take it to the next level, right? And then transform into the next expression. So this is the energy that we're working with, fired up by Mars over the next 2.5 years. It comes with Uranus, so you can have shocking, surprising events happen, but you can also have amazing insights, right? And if you work with this energy, if you become this, miracles can happen. I mean, miracles can happen anyway, right? Miracles can happen in this state because God is good. But miracles can be a part of your daily life in amazing ways. And as you make the shift from, you know, kind of these unhealthy, unbalanced relationships to independence, to learning how to be soul connected in relationship, and then once we're able to do this in our personal relationships, in my view, we can think about, how do I do this to manage the town? How can I do this as part of the governance of the country? How can I do this related to my family? You know, how do I do this related to my family? What does that mean for how I interact, engage, speak? And I'm talking about from the adult perspective, because there's a way to do this with children, but the authority, just like the authority of God is acknowledged here in the individual, the authority of the parent through whom divinity is speaking to the divinity of the child, there's a way to do that. Because structure is important in those cases, right? And it's just like we were talking about with these kinds of relationships, when you go into it with an agreement or a contractual agreement where you're expecting an exchange based upon the contract, right? It could be a lawful marriage. It could be, you know, like I was talking about going into the military. It could be, you know, training an animal. But the learning to go from state of the projection to independence to sovereignty, that process is the opportunity fired up with dramatic capability for shifts and changes in you, if you want. over the next 2.5 years, and I would say working with the divinity that you are, talk to God about it. Talk to God about it, because there's a beautiful egret here, like here, I'm going to show you. Isn't that cool? Hi, honey. How are you? How are you? How are you, beautiful? She is so beautiful. I don't know why I want to call it a she, but I do. Things have settled down since the bird dog and the woman walked off. I guess they did end up getting it together.